Hi there, welcome back to the YouTube channel. I'm back again, and it's the second monocolour deck this week, and we're going to look at Surrak Elusive Hunter today. 2 and a green for a 4/3 human warrior. Can't be countered, so that's an upside. Trample, that's pretty good. And whenever a creature you control or creature spell you control becomes a target of a spell or ability an opponent controls, draw a card. Okay then. A creature spell we control becomes a target, so it stops counter spells. Okay. Still, then people do tend to kill our big green stuff, so we have this in play, we get a card. Yeah, okay then. I'm going to be honest, this is the lowest of the new bracket tier system decks that I've done for the new set for Tarkir Dragonstorm. It's coming in at a tier level bracket 2 at the moment, if I remember correctly, according to Moxfield on the deck list. Which is fine. Occasionally you do need to do something a little bit simple and just like, I need a deck I don't need to think about, unlike yesterday's deck. You know what I'm talking about if you've watched yesterday's video. And I thought, yeah, I can't resist the mono green beatdown deck. So, hey, there's probably going to be not much in here you haven't seen before, but we're still going to go through it anyway because it is fun. And, you know, if you can go in against 3 mono blue players or someone who likes counter spelling and stuff, this may give you a way of still getting the big creatures out that you hope to hit. So, here we go. This is what today's deck looks like. Right, just one Planeswalker today. We're going to have Garruk Wildspeaker to untap our lands, because that's always a good thing to do. And then Beast tokens. If we get the -4 or 4 off to do the overrun effect for a turn, even better. And then we have 38 creatures in the deck. Elorious Shepherd's probably a bit counterintuitive, because we do want our opponents to try and counter our creatures, but it stops a lot of green spells being countered if someone's got a heavy green spell, counter spell deck. And if we can get the 6 mana, to turn all our elves into 5/5 dinosaurs, even better for us, because we have a fair few elves coming up in this deck. The first of which is Arbor Elf to untap. Then we've got Bop to basically give us an extra mana boost. And then Elvish Mystic, Fire and Order Elves, and Llanowar Elves. I've jumped over Goldvein Hydra for some reason. I think you've seen this in a lot of my green decks now. Green and X for 0/0 Vigilance, Trample, Haste, comes in with all the +1/+1 counters, and when it gets killed off, you get the tap treasure tokens. Now, if you make this big enough, it does eat removal spells quickly, and hopefully Surrak's in play. So as well as getting the treasures, although you can't use them that turn, because they come into play tapped, you do get an extra card as well. So yeah, everything's replaceable. Priest of Titania, because of all the elves we've got in it, and it counts everybody else's elves, so be aware of this. And then we've got Azusa, Lost but Seeking, so we can get the extra lands out. The Circle of Dreams Druid, to give us an extra green, tap for green mana for each green creature we control, or each creature we control, just not green ones, so even better. Dozan, the Falling Leaf. Players can only play spells during their own turns. A little bit of counterspell side of things, which is fine. Haven't played Dozan that often. It can be annoying for people. And I decided I had a slot left basically, and I didn't know what to do. And I was like, yeah, we'll play Dozan. We like Dozan. Again, doesn't work perfectly with Surrak, but it's still fun. Eldamri Corverdale is also in. We can cast the creature spells from top of our library, and then we can pay a green and tap 2 untapped creatures we control, reveal the top card. If it's a creature card, this revealed this way, put it onto the battlefield. Activate it only during your turn, so sorcery speed only technically, but it's good fun. Coming from there, Nissa Resurgent Animist is also on the deck in the game, just so we can get the landfall, hit per land and play, get an extra bit of green mana. Zavala, Heart of the Wilds, is one of the things that does give us a nice way of drawing cards if our power of our creatures is greater than each other's creatures. And then the Mana Ramp is also useful. Beast Whisperer just keeps filling our hand up so we cast our creature spells. Canopy Technician pumps our elves and gives us more mana. Dwyan, the Gilt Leaf Dian, is also in. 2 and double green for 3/4 elf. Gives all other elves +1/+1, has reach, and then whenever it attacks, we gain 1 life for each attacking elf we control. Yeah, I'm happy with that. And then come the things that are probably going to be the targets for all the removal spells or counter spells if we're still letting them be countered. So Anagonsaurus Rex is in. And then we have Battle Mammoth, which will probably foretell a lot of the time, so it does seem to work better that way. But kind of backs up our little bit of Surrak's. Whenever an opponent you control becomes a target of a spell or an ability and opponent controls, you get to draw a card. Yeah, right, I'm happy with that. One of the dragons comes in as well, Bloomvine Regent. Go and get a couple of forests from the Omen side. Basically does a Kodoma's Reach, for want of a better phrase, or Cultivate, depending which one of the spells you prefer. And then when it enters, or another dragon you control enters, we gain 3 life. Yeah, I'm happy with that. Defiler Revigor comes into play. We can pay 2 life to reduce the green mana cost and get +1/+1 counters whenever we cast green permanent spells on all the creatures we control. Ogic Haslam, Deepest Growth, we know what it does, so I'm not going to go over it too much, and we know it flips into the Temple of Cultivation as well. Overlord of the Hauntwoods just gives those everywhere lands, and then Sagu Wildling is also one of the new cards. This is the common dragon from Tarkir Dragonstorm. Just the 1 green mana to go and get the basic land does kind of mean we can always be hitting land drops, and then when it comes into play, we get 3 life from it. Fine by me. Foreign Clicks makes an appearance as well. Enters the battlefield, we get 2 forests, reveal them and put them in our hand, and then if we can transform Foreign Clicks into the Great Evolution, we are going to be, sorry, the Grand Evolution, we're going to be even happier, realistically, with this deck. Concave Siege Captain, because I just enjoy it, and the backup always makes me laugh, and then the extra +1/+1 counters make everyone else upset. Lumara, Bellow of the Woods had to be here. We can mill our, I don't mind milling cards away and then returning all our lands to the battlefield tapped. Broodcaller Scourge also comes in from the commander decks from Tarkir Dragonstorm. Because we have got a few dragons in here, it seems worthwhile having in here. Whenever 1 or more dragons you control deal combat damage to a player, you may put a permanent card with mana value less than or equal to that damage from your hand onto the battlefield. Thank you very much. I'm quite happy with that one, because Canopy Gargantuan, also in from the commander decks, really backs it up quite nicely. Cultivator Colossus makes an appearance as well. Hopefully we have a few lands in hand when we play this and just repeat the process to get some good card draws. Nyx Bloom Ancient to triple up our mana production. Old Gnawbone to basically give us a whole load of treasures to cast things. Shriekwood Devourer, so we can attack, whenever you attack with 1 or more creatures, untap up to X lands, where X is the greatest power amongst those creatures. Yeah, okay then. And then the other big boys, Titan of Industry, we all know what this does. I won't go through the 4 choices, but with this one, it's probably the Rhino one and the Shield counter. Vaultborn Tyrant gives us life in card draw. Zoltropel, the Hunger Dominus, just basically doubles all our creatures each combat with their power and toughness, and you know, if we can make Zolpandrel indestructible, all the happier we are. Polyraptor is a little bit of fun. Whenever it's dealt damage, you get a token that's a copy of it. I've seen a slight uptick recently in people playing Pestilence on my stream, so I'm hoping they will play Pestilence active when this is in play and I start getting lots of copies of Polyraptor. I'm happy with that. Apex Devastator also makes his appearance. I'm playing mono green. 10 mana, Cascade, 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 and Cascade once more. Thank you very much. Sorceries, we have some fun. Finale of Devastation, just so we can go and find something to upset people and do it. Then some Rampant Growth, Kodoma's Reach. Rite of Renewal also comes in from Dragonstorm for the fact that you can return 2 permanent cards from our graveyard to our hand, and then we can shuffle 4 other things from our graveyard back into our library. Yes, it exiles Rite of Renewal afterwards, but it does give us a little bit of reusable stuff. Shamanic Revelation, because of all of the creatures we've got, they've got a high power. Might as well gain the life and draw the cards. Become the Avalanche also comes in from the new commander set for Tarkir Dragonstorm. Draw a card for each creature you control, power 4 or greater. Then creatures you control get +X/+X until the end of turn, where X is the number of cards in your hand. Yeah, that's a nice one. Like this. I think this is going to see a lot more play than it is at the moment, so keep your eyes open for it in the future. And then Savala's Stampede got reprinted as well. I just like voting cards, you know this. When you've started with you, each player votes wild or free. Reveal cards from top of our library until we reveal a creature card with a wild vote and they go on the battlefield. And then you may then put a permanent card from your hand onto the battlefield for each free vote. Just make sure when you cast this you've got at least 3 permanents in your hand, because opponents do tend to go with the free instead of the wild. So bear it in mind. 1 instant, nothing particularly expensive, which is just Curious Herd, just so we can go and get a whole load of 3/3 beast tokens if we need them. And then some ramp with artifacts, so Mox Tantalite, Soul Ring, Felwar Stone. I've played the Birthing Pod because we haven't played it for a while and gives another way of getting creatures out of our library onto the battlefield. Throne of Eldraine is a no-brainer because we're in a mono green deck. Ether Flux Conduit, we should get to 50 mana, 50 energy with this quite quickly to draw 7 and then play a number of spells from our hand without paying their mana costs quite happily. And because we're in mono green, I figured it's worthwhile playing the Great Henge as well. Enchantments, there's a few more of them than there is artifacts for a change. Starting with Burgeoning, just so we can get the extra land drops, and then Beastmaster Ascension, so we can pump all our creatures up eventually when we're finished attacking. The Court of Garenbrig chucks around +1/+1 counters, and hopefully we'll steal the Monarch to double them up. Elemental Bond gives us card draw for all the big boys that come into play. Growing Rights of Itlimoc turn into the wonderful version of Gaia's Cradle, or the Itlimoc Cradle of the Sun, depending how you want to call it. Sylvan Scavenging gives us either +1/+1 counters or 3/3 raccoons. Tribute to the World Tree makes all the creatures with power of 3 or greater draws a card, or otherwise the ones with under power of 3 get bigger. Court of Bounty is also in, so we can put lands or permanent or creature cards onto the battlefield, assuming we're still the Monarch. Encroaching Dragonstorm, we've got a few dragons. I figured it's worthwhile having this in play just so we can go and search out some lands and then bounce it back when we play some of our dragons. And Frontier Siege, normally I'd say, yeah, you got to go with dragons. This one you go with Khans on it. Sorry, you need them extra green mana, so do that. 35 lands in the deck. Archer of Alcanza and Bonder's Enclave do the card draw. 25 forests, Homeward Paths, I'm worried about my big green creatures being stolen. Morocco for more card draw. Mosswalk Bridge, so we can do the whole exile and hopefully get to 10 power quite quickly to play the card underneath it for free. Nykthos, Shrine to Nyx is in today's deck, kind of like yesterday's one. And then Oran Reef, the Vast Wood. Bear this one in mind. Put a +1/+1 counter on each green creature that entered the battlefield this turn. It's not bad for no mana investment whatsoever. Reliquary Tower, Temple of the False God, and then finally Yavimaya to make everything a forest. And that's it. This Surrak deck's a little bit straightforward. I'm sure there is probably something I've missed that can make it a lot more fun and funky, but I figured having one easy deck every set's pretty good, and Surrak's the easiest one to do for this set. So if you think there's anything major I've missed, you know, you can. I know we can bump up by putting all the Eldrazi, and I'm aware of that. But I was trying to keep it fairly straightforward, maybe for a newer player to, you know, get their head around how Commander works. Let me know in the comments down below. Please, if you haven't been here before, I'd love it if you could hit the subscribe button. That'd really help me out. And I will play Surrak on stream, so there's a link down below to Twitch. So come and give me a follow over there. Come and join the 278 people who like knowing when I go live, and then sometimes come and join me or watch the videos on demand that stay on Twitch. So, you know, it's there. But for now, thanks for watching, and I'll be back tomorrow with another deck. So have a good day. Bye-bye.